The night sky burned orange as Commander Marcus Kane stood alone on the rocky outcrop. Below him, the valley stretched wide and dark, but it would not stay dark for long. The ground began to crack. Red light poured through the breaks in the earth. Something ancient was waking up beneath the surface of planet Velar 7. Marcus had been stationed here for 3 months. The human colony on Velar 7 was small. Only 2,000 people lived in the settlement called New Dawn. They had come here to mine the rare crystals that powered starships across the galaxy. Nobody knew that something else lived deep beneath the crystal caves. The first creature emerged from the cracked ground. It was massive. Standing 12 feet tall, its body seemed to be made entirely of molten rock and living fire. Orange flames danced across its skin. Its eyes glowed like twin suns. When it opened its mouth, smoke poured out and the temperature around it rose instantly. Marcus felt the heat wash over him, even from this distance. He gripped his plasma rifle tighter. The weapon felt small and useless against such a monster, but he did not run. He could not run. Behind him, somewhere in the settlement, 500 civilians were still waiting for evacuation ships. A second fire creature broke through the ground. Then a third, then more. Within minutes, Marcus counted at least 40 of these burning giants spreading across the valley floor. They moved slowly but with terrible purpose. Their massive feet left glowing footprints in the rock. Everything they touched began to burn. His communicator crackled with static. The heat from the creatures was interfering with the signal. Marcus pressed the device harder against his ear and caught fragments of a voice. "Commander, evacuation ships. Delayed. 2 more hours. 2 hours." Marcus looked at the approaching army of fire monsters. At their current speed, they would reach the settlement in 30 minutes. There was no way the civilians could survive that long without protection. He checked his rifle's power cell. 40 shots. 40 shots against 40 creatures that were literally made of fire. The math was not good. But Marcus had not joined the Human Defense Force to do easy math. He had joined to protect people. He raised his rifle and took aim at the nearest creature. The plasma bolt struck its chest and actually made it stumble backward. For a moment, Marcus felt hope. Then the creature straightened up and kept walking. The wound in its chest was already healing, filling with fresh magma. Marcus fired again and again. Each shot slowed the creatures down slightly, but nothing stopped them permanently. His rifle clicked empty far too quickly. He reached for his spare power cell just as a massive burning hand swung toward him. The impact never came. Instead, Marcus heard the roar of an engine and the scream of energy weapons. A sleek black fighter craft shot overhead, its guns blazing. The fire creature that had been about to crush him stumbled backward under the assault. The fighter landed hard on the rocky ground beside Marcus. The cockpit opened and a woman jumped out. She was tall, with short dark hair and eyes that seemed to glow with their own inner light. She wore the armor of an elite human special forces unit. "Commander Kane," she said, her voice calm despite the chaos around them. "I am Captain Sarah Chun. I was in the sector when I received the distress call." Before Marcus could respond, a second figure emerged from the fighter. This woman was different. Her skin had a slight silver tint, and her movements were almost too smooth, too precise. She was a cyborg, Marcus realized. More machine than human, but still human where it counted. "This is Lieutenant Maya Cross," Sarah said. "She is the best heavy weapons specialist in 3 star systems." Maya nodded at Marcus. In her hands, she carried a weapon that was nearly as long as she was tall. It hummed with barely contained power. "Quantum disruption cannon," Maya explained. "Designed to break apart molecular bonds. Should work nicely on creatures made of molten rock." A fire monster roared and charged toward them. Maya raised her weapon without hesitation. The cannon fired a beam of pure white energy. When it struck the creature, the effect was immediate and spectacular. The monster's body began to fall apart. chunks of cooling rock breaking away and crumbling to dust. In seconds, only a pile of gray ash remained. "That works," Marcus said. But there were still merely 40 creatures, and more were emerging from the ground every minute. The three of them stood back to back as the burning army closed in around them. Sarah pulled 2 plasma pistols from her belt. Unlike standard weapons, these had been modified. Blue energy crackled around the barrels. "Cryoplasma hybrid," she explained. "The cold slows them down. The plasma does the damage." She began firing in smooth, controlled bursts. Each shot struck its target with deadly accuracy. The creatures she hit moved slower, their flames dimming as ice formed on their rocky skin. They did not die from her shots alone, but they became easier targets for Maya's cannon. Marcus picked up a fallen rock and threw it at an approaching creature just to distract it. He felt useless standing between these two warriors. Sarah noticed his frustration. "Commander, we need someone to coordinate the evacuation. Can you reach the settlement?" Marcus looked at the path between them and New Dawn. Fire creatures blocked the direct route, but there was a narrow canyon to the east that might be clear. "I can try," he said. "Do not try," Maya said without looking at him. She was too busy firing her cannon at 3 creatures at once. "Succeed. Those people need you." Marcus ran. He sprinted toward the canyon while Sarah and Maya covered his retreat. Behind him, he could hear the constant roar of weapons fire and the angry screams of the fire monsters. The canyon was narrow and dark. Marcus moved as fast as he dared, knowing that one wrong step could mean a broken ankle and death. The walls of the canyon glowed red in places. The heat was coming up from below. More creatures were waking. He emerged from the canyon near the eastern edge of the settlement. People were running everywhere, carrying children and supplies. The evacuation was happening, but it was not fast enough. Marcus found the settlement's security chief organizing the retreat. "We need more time," Marcus told him. 2 soldiers are holding the creatures in the valley, but they cannot do it forever. The security chief looked at him with desperate eyes. "What can we do?" "We do not have weapons that can hurt those things," Marcus thought quickly. The settlement had mining equipment. Heavy drills, excavators, and most importantly, a large supply of liquid nitrogen used to cool the crystal extraction machines. "Get me every container of liquid nitrogen you have," Marcus ordered. "And anyone who knows how to operate the mining vehicles." Within minutes, Marcus had assembled a strange army. Miners and excavators, technicians with makeshift freeze sprays. Even some children helped carry containers of the super-cold liquid. They reached the valley just as Sarah and Maya were being pushed back. Both women were wounded. Sarah had burns on her arms, and one of Maya's cybernetic legs was damaged. But they were still fighting. They had taken down at least 20 creatures, but more kept coming from underground. "Now," Marcus shouted into his communicator. The mining vehicles charged forward. Excavators swung their massive arms, knocking fire creatures off balance. Workers sprayed liquid nitrogen at the monsters, freezing their outer shells and making them brittle. Then Maya would follow up with her cannon, shattering them into pieces. Sarah fought her way to Marcus's side. Her face was covered in sweat and ash, but she was smiling. "Good plan, Commander. Good timing, Captain." Together, the humans pushed back against the fire monsters. It was not a clean victory. Several mining vehicles were destroyed. Some workers were burned, but they held the line. They protected their people. As the sun began to rise over Velar 7, the last of the fire creatures retreated back underground. The evacuation ships arrived and began loading the civilians. The colony would have to be abandoned, but every single person survived. Marcus sat on a rock and watched the ships take off. Sarah sat beside him, wrapping a bandage around a burn on her arm. Maya stood nearby, running diagnostics on her damaged leg. "Thank you," Marcus said to both women. "We would have lost everyone without you." Sarah shook her head. "We bought time." You organized the real defense. Those miners, those workers, they saved themselves. We just helped." Maya nodded. "That is what humans do. We help each other, even against impossible odds." The sun climbed higher. Its light was warm but gentle, nothing like the terrible heat of the fire monsters. Somewhere beneath the surface, those creatures still waited. But they had learned something today. Humans do not break easily. Humans fight back. And when humans stand together, not even fire monsters can stop them. Marcus looked at the two women who had appeared from nowhere to save his people. He thought about the miners who had driven their vehicles into battle against literal monsters. He thought about the children who had carried heavy containers without complaint. This was what humanity meant: not giving up, not leaving anyone behind, standing together against the darkness, no matter how hot it burned. The last evacuation ship landed nearby. Sarah and Maya helped Marcus to his feet. "Coming, Commander?" Sarah asked. Marcus took one last look at the valley. The ground was still cracked. The danger was still real. But today, humanity had won. "Yes," he said. "Let us go home." They boarded the ship together. Three warriors from different backgrounds, united by a common purpose. As the ship lifted off and new dawn grew smaller beneath them, Marcus knew that the story of what happened here would spread across human space. It would become a legend. The tale of fire monsters and the heroes who stopped them. The story of two women who arrived at exactly the right moment. The account of ordinary miners who became soldiers. But most importantly, it would be a reminder. A reminder that no matter what the universe threw at them, humans would always find a way to survive. They would always protect each other. They would always fight back. The stars welcomed them as the ship entered space. Somewhere out there, new challenges waited. New dangers lurked in the darkness between worlds. But Marcus was not afraid. He had seen what humans could do when they stood together. He closed his eyes and rested. Beside him, Sarah and Maya did the same. They had earned this moment of peace. Tomorrow would bring new battles, but tonight they were heroes. And the fire monsters had learned a valuable lesson. Never underestimate humanity.